Hi there, welcome back to Books and Tea with Sarah. I'm yours truly, and today I finally got the courage. We're going to talk about Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. I finished this book a few weeks ago. I've been thinking about it a lot ever since. I tried to write a review of it about a week ago, but I was just so mentally drained thinking about it that I just couldn't sit down and write. So this is gonna be a bit of a rambling video. Definitely not planned out, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have like an hour-long video to edit, but we'll just see where this goes. Normally I start off with a summary and a non-spoiler section of my thoughts on the book, but I had a lot of trouble separating my qualms with this book from spoilers. So I suppose if you haven't read this book and you're looking for a review of it, it's good. It continues the story. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But for one thing, the character development is awful. It really bothered me, and I can't tell you if the character development was actually bad or if it's just because the characters didn't develop in a way that I wanted them to develop. I think it's just actually bad. That was one thing, and then another thing, there was one part that was majorly plagiarized, and I can't believe no one has ever talked about it before. So I actually went back to look on my Goodreads before filming this to see what rating I gave it, because I thought I gave it 2.5, but apparently I gave it 3. I was initially going to give it 4 stars, knocked it down to 3. In retrospect, I think I initially would have given it 3.5 stars and knocked it down to 2.5 for the purpose of the plagiarism. So those are my non-spoiler thoughts. If you haven't read the book, you can go read it and then come back and we can talk about it more. You can see more of my ranting. Otherwise, stick around and let's just see where this video goes. So I do think I'm going to start off with some general thoughts about the book and not necessarily plot points, I suppose. As far as the writing, as always, it was nothing special, but I still enjoyed it, I suppose. It didn't stick out to me. I didn't think it was particularly beautiful, but yeah, I stayed enveloped in the story. Nothing drew me out of it because of the writing. As I stated earlier, I had a lot of trouble with the character development. I feel like Maas just kind of lost connection with her characters. Like, she forgot who her characters were, who she created them to be in the beginning. For one thing, Selena pretty much regressed. She's back to the person that she probably was at 15. She's very vengeful, doesn't give a fuck about anyone. Just all around only cares about herself. I felt like with the first book, we were set up to see a character develop, to learn to trust and to love people, because she spent much of her adolescence around people that she couldn't trust, people who basically taught her to be that vengeful self that she probably was at 15. Seeing her choose to keep herself from developing that trust and love is incredibly frustrating, because I feel like her character should be developing a lot more than that. I will say the end of this book kind of gave me a little bit of that feeling that I had, that connection I had with her character in the first book, but throughout the entire book she was just very spineless and very pathetic, and I just really disliked her, which was a shame because the majority of the book was about her storyline. As for Kale, he is the youngest captain of the guards, so he should obviously be very brave, strategic, fierce, and have a desire for justice. He's not gonna cower in the corner when things get complicated. And yet this is the character that we see, or at least this isn't the character that I saw. This is the character that other characters say he is, which was incredibly frustrating. To me, there was no implication that Kale didn't love Selena because of her being Fae, until Dorian specifically said, you can't choose to love certain parts of her, you have to love all of her. I was like, I don't think he feels like that. I think he was surprised. Anyone would be surprised. And a little scared, because when she looked at him, basically all life was drained from her eyes. I'm talking about at the end of Crown of Midnight. When she looked at him, when she was Fae, pretty much all life was drained from her eyes. She was basically like a monster. And we're talking about a creature that he's never come in contact with before in his life. A creature that was like supposed to be eliminated completely 10 years ago, that he was raised believing was a monster. You can't expect him to change immediately, but you also can't say that he's totally loveless You can't expect him to immediately be able to accept someone like that, and you can't say that he's choosing not to accept someone like that. Next we have Dorian, the crown prince, and he wants to be a better ruler than his father. This is the character we're presented with in the first book. So he's not gonna sit there and push his only allies in the castle, Chaol, away just because of a girl, because this girl rejected him and chose someone else over him. You're not 12. The Selena-Rowan relationship, I did not believe for a second was platonic. Mass sat there and described the jealousy of a girlfriend and then tried to say it was platonic. It wasn't. A platonic relationship, you don't get jealous of other women looking at your friend when he's hot. I feel like she initially wanted it to be a romantic relationship and then realized that she can't make a love square when she has like all of those unresolved issues with the other two guys, and so then at the end she was like, oh no, they can't be in love because they're like best friend soulmates. Whatever. So literally every scene with Chaol was just him getting chewed out by someone for not completely committing to the rebel cause. And I'm sorry, but you try being as close as you possibly can to the tyrant ruler and not being scared shitless about switching to the rebel cause and still being in that position next to the ruler. I did really enjoy Manon and Abraxas. I love their storyline. It was probably the only thing that kept me going through this book. And then I also really liked Adian. I enjoyed his character a lot. Sometimes he was a little too cold and I felt like that wasn't true to his character. I don't know. To me, he's a certain archetype that isn't that cold and calculating. So I guess we'll start with Selena's storyline. So there were 3 main storylines. There was Selena's storyline, there was Manon's storyline, and then there was Chaol and Dorian. So I guess the storylines were based on places. So there's the Wenland storyline, there was the Marath storyline, and then there was the Otterland storyline. In Wenland with Selena, I was a little put off by the fact that literally every scene, when she got to the place where Rowan was going to train her, literally every scene was about how she couldn't turn fae, or she couldn't make the fire go. This happened for like 2/3 of the book. 2/3 of the book! It was so boring. Most of those scenes could have been excluded because they didn't advance anything. It was literally the same thing over and over again. I did appreciate that they explained later on why she kept asking for stories about Maeve. I thought it was kind of just because she just wanted to know more about Maeve in general, because she had never known this person. She was kept from her during her early life, and then after everything went to shit in Aurelia, she just didn't have any contact with family whatsoever. So I thought she kind of just wanted to learn more about her heritage. So it was really interesting to me that they explained later that she was actually trying to piece together Maeve's history to use against her, which I really appreciated. And I did like that final scene with Maeve where she kind of stood up to her because, as I said, throughout this entire story, she was spineless and pathetic. I had this feeling when I was reading The Assassin's Blade, like she's the world's greatest assassin. That doesn't make sense whatsoever. She's a shit assassin and she's super whiny and spineless. So I really liked the final scene with Maeve where she stood up for herself, she stood up for Rowan, to this person who is supposed to be incredibly evil that Selena's mother kept from her through her whole life, and there was obviously a reason that Aylin's mother kept her from her. So I definitely really enjoyed that scene. I thought that it was well written. I thought that it was true to character, or true to where her character should be developing. But I also felt like there wasn't enough for me to say Maeve's not a problem anymore, but there also wasn't enough for me to say that Maeve should still be a problem, if that makes sense. And I know that Maeve is still going to be a problem in the future, but it's just one of those things where I wish that Mass had given us more reason to think that Maeve was going to be a problem in the future. I wasn't surprised, obviously, that Rowan had to stay in Wenland. There's no magic in Aurelia, so he can't transform into, I think he would be stuck as the bird, right? Because I don't think they can be there in their fae form when there's no magic. So he would be stuck as a bird, which would be like pretty much useless. I like the whole idea around creating the tattoo with her scars and all the people that she lost. I thought that was creative and kind of cool, and I like tattoos in general. I don't have any myself, but I think that stories behind tattoos are really cool. Like I said, at the end, I felt like we got a little glimpse of the old Celaena, who the character was originally created to be, who the character was originally created to be developed into. I really liked the nod to Sam, I guess. Even though I really didn't like Sam, I felt like his character was useless. Like, he was just a plot device. Literally, she loved him for 3 weeks, and then he died. I've already ranted about this, but I did appreciate the nod to him, because it was the last line of the book, and I felt like it was a very powerful way to end it. She was Aelin Ashriver Galathinius, and she would not be afraid. So I just felt like that was a powerful ending, and because of the fact that it was a nod to Sam, it was more powerful. So I did appreciate that. But literally, Celaena's plot was meaningless in this book. Like, this book probably could have been 100 pages shorter. So then I'll talk about what happened in Otterland. Basically, what happened in this whole plot line was Dorian said Chaol was a baby. And there you have it, folks. I really liked Sorcia's character. I was happy that they brought her into this, because I finally started to see Dorian get over Celaena. And I was really happy to see that, because that was literally everything that bothered me in book 2, was the fact that he was acting like a piece of shit 12-year-old who was jealous about an ex-girlfriend who he didn't even date. So I liked that Sorcia got brought in. Obviously, I didn't like that she died, because that just gave Dorian more reason to be a piece of shit 12-year-old. Obviously, Queen of Shadows, which I've already started, he's not going to be himself, because he's gonna have one of those things trapped inside him. I don't know. I really liked the relationship that developed between Chaol and Adian. I hope this continues in the books. I haven't seen it yet in Queen of Shadows, but I hope it does continue. I feel like it will be really important for reconnecting Celaena and Chaol, because I feel like this spat between them is a Hunger Games-esque spat. I'm not saying at the end Celaena and Chaol will get together. I really don't give a shit. I kind of hope they don't end up together, because Chaol deserves better than that, but I really hope that the relationship that Chaol and Adian have developed together, despite seeming to be more of a professional relationship, I do think that I do feel like there's a little bit of a genuine friendship there, and I hope that helps to reconnect Celaena and Chaol. I hope that helps to get rid of Celaena's bullheadedness, I guess. The ending was done really well. The action in that scene, it was just so tense, and I actually really enjoyed reading that scene, despite the fact that they killed Sorcia. Like, it was well written, very intense, edge of your seat. It was definitely necessary to happen. Like, I couldn't see that plot going any other way. So I wish that that scene had been the end of the book. Just because I feel like Celaena was not important in this book at all. And so having the book end with her storyline just didn't make sense to me. I felt like the storyline in Otterland was a lot more important than Celaena's storyline. I wish that scene had been the final scene of the book, had been the cliffhanger for the book. Despite the fact that I really enjoyed the last one-liner, but we could have done without it. It's not like it was necessary. I really liked the clock tower, like that getting explained a little bit more. I don't know if that's what its original intention was when she first talked about it, but that being turned into this whole storyline with creating kind of this prism with which magic was captured. Really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really cool aspect of describing how the king was able to get rid of magic and everything. I think that's actually really important with understanding how he got rid of magic for everyone, and yet he can still use magic. The next thing I guess I'll talk about is Manon and Abraxas. As I said, this was my favorite storyline of the entire book. I love Manon's and Abraxas's characters. I think part of it is because Abraxas is like a dog. I really enjoyed the storyline. I like seeing the dark side and the people working for like so-called the evil side, and kind of seeing that develop. I really liked watching Manon have character development, unlike everybody else in this book. How she did develop like this kind of soft heart for Abraxas, and as well as for others. I mean, even her relationship with Aster and her cousin, even some of the other girls of the 13, I feel like despite the fact that she's hard on them because she is their leader and they have to look up to her, I still feel like she does have kind of a soft heart for them. When she punishes them, she doesn't want to, but she has to. I really liked watching her character develop. I loved the scene with the Crashing Witch. I thought that was really cool how it was kind of explained like, yeah, you're evil, but you're not inherently evil. They turned you into this and you can change back. It was obviously foreshadowing for what's to come and everything. Like Manon is probably going to switch sides. And I actually really enjoyed the mystery development with why all the humans smell bad. I realized I didn't talk about the plagiarism. Probably fair that I saved this for last. I'm surprised this never got mentioned before. This is a ripoff of Harry Potter. Y'all, don't know why nobody noticed it. Actually, no, I think somebody did notice it because I went through, I have watched so many reviews of this book since reading it, trying to understand why nobody noticed it, or like seeing maybe if somebody else did actually notice it. And there was like one mention and they were like, yeah, I got like Dementor-esque feels or Harry Potter-esque feels from this. And I was like, this is downright plagiarism. So we have these dark hooded figures that are tall, lanky, that suck your soul, and when they're sucking your soul, they make you relive all of your bad memories. When I first read about these creatures, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. But then we have the scene where Aelin is battling the three princes in Iraq, and she gets to a point where she's basically given up, and I think she's like laying on the ground or something, and suddenly like her like 8-year-old self appears to her and is like, get up, you're not done. I was like, oh, that's really cute. I like that. And then Nehemia appears and she's like, get up, you're not done yet. And then Sam appears. And then her parents appear. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it's exactly like the scene when Harry goes to fight Voldemort. I think I'm more frustrated by the fact that nobody else seems bothered by this. And I think that pretty much concludes my thoughts on this book. Things I liked, things I didn't like. If you have anything more to add to this, I'd love to talk about it in the comments below if you've read this book. Especially if you recognize the Harry Potter parallelism that was going on in there. I just need to talk about this book, you guys. I need to talk about this series. Despite my qualms with this and the fact that I'm really disappointed in this series, I am still continuing. I love the plot. The plot is honestly like the number one thing about these books and what keeps me going. I'm just having a lot of trouble with the character development. That's really the main reason I'm not enjoying these books. Mostly Selena. Selena's just a bitch, honestly. If you have anything to add to these thoughts, please comment down below and we can talk about it a lot more. Other than that, thanks for watching. Until next time, I will talk to you all in the comments. Bye! Adarlan, whatever. I don't give a shit.